The coronavirus rages across Europe. And who are European countries turning to for help? China. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark, because you should be using a reliable VPN whenever you go online. So the Chinese Communist Party is using the coronavirus to split Europe, because clearly the UK didn't do a good enough job back in January. From the Chinese Communist Party's perspective, the European Union is a big problem. With a combined economy bigger than China's, the EU has the power to do things like enact trade policies that apply to all its 27 member states, stop potential security risks like shady Chinese telecom company Huawei, and in general stand toe-to-toe with the world's largest authoritarian regime. Fortunately for the world's largest authoritarian regime, the global pandemic it caused by covering up the coronavirus for almost 2 months is playing in its favor. Europe is now the new epicenter of the coronavirus, or as I'm calling it, the CCP virus. Italy has more CCP virus deaths than anywhere outside China. And who are they looking to for help? China! No, that's not a joke. The drum kit just fell over. In mid-March, the Chinese government sent medical supplies to Italy, along with a medical team that stopped to pose for the media. Wow. Those guys are so professional, they don't even need 6 feet of social distancing. Lucky for Italy, they joined China's Belt and Road Initiative last year. Italy's Foreign Minister Luigi Di Maio said, "Those who mocked us on the Silk Road must now admit that investing in this friendship has allowed us to save lives in Italy." There's a reason Luigi is player 2. Meanwhile, Spain, the second hardest hit country in Europe, is also looking to China for help fighting the coronavirus. After an agreement in late March, China sent millions of masks and test kits to Madrid. The Czech Republic also got medical supplies from China, and the Chinese ambassador spoke on the tarmac at a totally unstaged press event.
China stands ready to work together with the Czech Republic and other countries to fight against this epidemic together.
Same thing in Greece, where China sent an airplane full of supplies.
We are fighting this virus together as a friend, so we will do our very best to help.
Gosh, all these are such beautiful gestures by the Chinese Communist Party, lending a helping hand to all those European countries infected with the coronavirus. This delivery of face masks from China to Belgium says unity makes strength. What they mean is unity with China makes strength. That's exactly the narrative Chinese state media want everyone to believe. And the Chinese telecom giant Huawei, which has close ties to the Chinese Communist Party, recently donated 800,000 masks to the Netherlands. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that the Netherlands is still deciding whether to allow Huawei into its 5G network, despite the national security risk. Side note, it turns out a lot of the test kits Chinese companies sold throughout Europe turned out to be faulty and had to be returned. Anyway, a lot of European countries have been willing to accept China's generous gifts, even though some of them may have been low quality, and even though in most cases they actually had to pay for the supplies, so they weren't actually gifts. But whatever, they've still been willing to accept these supplies from China because they perceive the European Union as not doing enough. Eurosceptic populist leaders are very happy to play along with Chinese propaganda, to say only China is helping us to promote the idea of the lack of EU solidarity. Take Serbia, a country in Eastern Europe. Somewhere. For a long time, Serbia has been hoping to join the EU.
Serbia plans to join the EU by 2025. But the country's environmental procedures and greenhouse gas emissions currently do not meet the requirements.
It's tough to meet the EU's requirements. But guess who doesn't care about environmental blah blah blah? China, the world's biggest polluter. After all, true friends help each other hide their problems. The Serbian president flew to China last year to build that friendship. And China is such a good friend that on March 21st, China sent Serbia one of their medical teams, along with boxes of supplies. And Serbia's president did what any normal world leader would do. He welcomed them on the tarmac and then kissed the Chinese national flag to express his gratitude. I wonder if he regrets that now that his Secretary of State has died from the coronavirus. But the Chinese regime's overtures to help European countries is part of its plan to weaken the EU, to make individual countries turn not to each other, but to China in their hour of need. And it seems to be working. I don't see Serbia's president kissing the EU flag, even though maybe he should. The EU is helping. It just hasn't gotten as much publicity. The EU provides significant support to Serbia's hospitals and has included it in its emergency stockpile of medical equipment. Plus, Germany and France have sent shipments roughly as big as China's to EU countries like Italy, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. Despite this, China is winning the coronavirus propaganda war. Many European countries have turned on each other. So with the Chinese Communist Party trying to insert itself as the savior of Europe, what can be done? Well, the European Union needs to come together and lay the blame where it really is due, the Chinese Communist Party. Remember, the CCP virus outbreak started in China and spread because of the party's cover-up. Now the CCP sends supplies to Europe and uses that to fight a propaganda war. It seems like the EU understands what's happening and is trying to counter China's propaganda narrative. But it's an uphill battle, because the Chinese Communist Party has been trying to split Europe for years. We've been looking at this issue for a long time on this show, doing episodes on China's growing influence in countries like Serbia, Greece, and Italy. It's no coincidence that these are also the countries that the Chinese Communist Party is now targeting with both their coronavirus aid and their propaganda. But these countries should watch out. Just because you're a friend of China, Italy, doesn't mean the Chinese regime won't throw you under the bus when it's convenient. In fact, Chinese state-run media are now suggesting the coronavirus may have started not in China, but in Italy. They've done that by twisting the words of Italian physician Giuseppe Ramuzzi. Ramuzzi had said in an interview that some doctors in Italy remember having seen very strange pneumonias, very severe, particularly in old people in December and even in November. Ramuzzi meant that the coronavirus might have spread from China to Italy as early as December or November. But Chinese state-run media reported it as if he meant that the virus started in Italy, not China, which he says is not at all what he meant. So now Italy, which has been the hardest hit with the CCP virus, is now being blamed by the CCP for starting the virus. That's called friendship with Chinese characteristics. You never know when China's propaganda war could turn on you next. And if you don't like China's propaganda, you probably also don't like trackers and malware when you go online. That's why you should use Surfshark. When you're browsing the internet, everything you do is being tracked and logged by the websites you visit and your internet service provider, in many cases by the government. Whether you're in the US, Europe, or in China, do you really want the government tracking everything you do? That's why you should use a VPN like Surfshark to protect your identity. When you use Surfshark's clean web mode, you'll be protected from ads, trackers, and malware. Plus, with Surfshark, you can connect as many devices as you want. Try it out with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Plus, Surfshark has a special discount for China Uncensored fans. Go to surfshark.com/uncensored and use the code UNCENSORED to get 83% off a 2-year plan and 1 extra month free. Protect yourself online today. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.